All right, here we go. So good morning, everyone. Welcome. Today I want to talk about condos, sales, types of condos, and reviewing status certificates. I want to caution you guys that you don't want to be experts at viewing status certificates. You don't want to tell your client that 100% you're the expert to listen to, but you should know what you're looking for, because sometimes we don't get time to send it to the lawyer if it's a last minute bidding war that we're in, and we have to know what to look for red flags for our clients to try and help them out and try to help them make that decision when they're putting in a firm offer and they're waiving the status certificate clause. A good idea, though, a lot of people have gotten ahead of the game and they'll order the status certificate early. So what used to happen back in the day, I like to say, when we were in the market like this, we've been in this kind of market at least since 2017 now. But prior to that, we put in an offer. They wouldn't order the status certificate until you put in an offer, because it was only good for 3 months, and sometimes listings would sit. And then, you get the 10 days. That's why the clause reads that they have 10 days to provide it to you and 2 days for you to review it. So a lot of people get confused with that, but that's usually because it takes 10 days to order the status certificate from the condo board. And the owner or the seller wouldn't do it unless they had a firm sale or a conditional sale in hand, right? But nowadays people are getting ahead of the game. They're ordering that status certificate so they can have it in place, and they'll give it to multiple people to go review with their lawyers. And then that lawyer takes it, reviews it, says, yeah, it's okay. And your client can then waive the status certificate. But we should still know.
So, hold on.
Right? Oh, I don't think so. On mute. Okay. So, somebody else, maybe not on mute. There we go. There we go. Okay, so first I'm going to go over the different types of condos. So I'm just going to share my screen here. We'll go over to my materials so you guys can follow along with me. First, we have to really understand the different types of condos. So if your client asks you what it is, you can explain it. So the one we're most used to is standard condominium corporations, right? This is the type of condo. It's the most common. It's defined as being separate unit or row house. When you purchase a standard condo, you own the unit and in some cases a parking spot. If your condo building has other amenities like a pool or a gym, you'd have access to those spaces, but you wouldn't own them. In most cases, you'd be subject to fluctuating maintenance fee that's used to pay for and maintain common areas. So this is the kind we're most used to. You have a building, and you own your unit, you own your parking space, sometimes you even own your locker, but there might be a pool or security, or just the maintenance of the foyer, shoveling of the parking lot outside, maintenance of the grounds, the lawn cutting and the flower beds and stuff like that. Everybody pays the proportionate share to those common areas, and that's what makes it a condo. So you own your unit and everything within it. And usually with the condominium corporation, they'll take care of the outside of the building. So that's like your windows, your sliding doors, the roof of the building, the boiler system in the basement, the mail room, different things like that. So this is the most common one. It's the easiest to work with, I think, you know what I mean? And it's generally what we see the most. But sometimes when you're on MLS, you see co-op, co-ownership. So what's the difference? Okay. So the difference is that you own shares in the private company that owns the building. And by owning those shares, you're giving exclusive rights to occupy a specific unit in this building. Potential owners are also interviewed by the board. So imagine the whole building as itself. All the units, oops, why are we echoing here? All the units, including the common areas, make up 100%. And they're going to divvy it up into 10. So you're going to own 10%, somebody else going to own 10%, somebody else going to own 10%. So you don't own a specific unit, you own 10% of the building, shares in the building, okay? This type of unit is difficult to fund with the bank, which is why you need to know the difference, because if you see it on MLS, the bank doesn't like it because there isn't a specific unit for them to take away should you not pay your mortgage, if you default on the mortgage. So more often than not, your client has to come up with 100% of the purchase price, as if you were buying like a vacant land. Same reason the bank doesn't really like to fund vacant lands. They like to have some sort of property on there that they can then take and recoup some of their loss if you default on your mortgage, right? Okay, so be careful and make sure you're reading with your clients, whether it's a regular condo or a co-op co-ownership condo. You'll see them listed online. Try and look for one and find one and see what the description says. Okay. Then you come into your common elements condominium corporations. So this type of condo corporation doesn't have any units, but does have shared spaces or amenities. The owners of the land are responsible for maintenance fees of these shared common elements and most often require community members to pay maintenance fees. So again, we're getting a little more confusing. So imagine you go and you buy a freehold property. So they're putting up freehold properties in Lindsay right now. And all the houses, detached houses, so you own the house yourself, you own the grounds around the house yourself, but they all surround a golf course, right? So that community is now tied into maintaining that golf course. So you have a regular fee that comes up every month, just like a maintenance fee, but it doesn't cover anything about your house, your property, the land around your property. It comes into a space that you guys are sharing in the community, a park, a golf course, ponds, I don't know, you name it. There's a bunch of different kinds of ones, right? Very similar to this, and it doesn't touch on this in this article, and I'm not really sure why, is parcel-tied land. So I've had a lot of people come to me lately in the office, and I realized that we're using the incorrect form. So I put a new kit in our templates. I don't know if you guys noticed it. So I have a parcel-tied land form there. And what that is it's very much like these common elements condominiums, very, very similar. But instead of sharing like, you know, like a community share, like a golf course or something like that, that many different sort of streets and houses around it might be paying proportionately into, it would pertain to one specific unit. So imagine a row of townhouses. They're freehold townhouses, right? And you have, you know, 1 through 10. But in order to get into this complex, you have a common road coming in, or perhaps a common parking lot, or some gardens around in the area. So they're tied together by this parcel of land to get into this complex of sorts, even though each individual unit is owned as freehold, meaning that there's no condominium corporation that would come and do your roof or fix your windows or, you know, repair any structural damage to your property. You're responsible to mow your lawn. Nobody's maintaining the lawn in the front and the backyard of the condo, or sorry, not condo, townhouse. But there's this land that ties you all together that you guys all use for communally, like a parking lot or a road coming in to those few houses, right? But other than that, they're completely freehold. I should add it to this document for the next time. Timeshare, we don't do a lot of timeshare now. We find them more in vacation spots and stuff like that, but you guys should still understand them in case your client asks you, so you know the difference. I know I've been asked by clients, do you think it's better to buy a timeshare in the Muskokas or should I try and buy my own cottage, right? It all just depends on what your schedule is and how you want to own your property. So a timeshare is you're not owning the actual property itself. And like I say, it's usually a vacation property, but each buyer purchases a certain amount of time. So I'm purchasing 3 months of every year in this property, and I get to use it for those 3 months of every year. It's mine. Okay. Again, something you would have to come up with money on your own. Bank wouldn't be funding your timeshare because they don't have a property they can take away if you default on it. Okay. Vacant land condominiums. So vacant land condos are defined as bare land that is sold and used to construct condominiums. Corporations register and sell their land as a condominium before any building begins. Vacant land condo owners not only own their home, but they also own the land it sits on. Usually the maintenance fees for this type of condo are much lower because the benefits of vacant land condos, right? So again, it would be like vacant land being divvied up to be built on and have condominiums built on. And then they say just a couple of benefits. We hardly ever deal with vacant land condos, but I just thought it's good to touch on, you guys. I had added to my materials when I created this. Vacant land condos are attractive for several reasons. If you go this route, you would own your own unit on the land, meaning that you're free to customize the inside of your home any way you like. You have flexibility to make changes to your exterior space. Vacant land condos generally have much lower condo fees because you're responsible for your own maintenance. The nominal fees you pay are for things like street maintenance and ensuring that the neighborhood is always well groomed. So again, maybe like gates coming into the community, again, maybe there's a park, maybe there's, you know, I don't know, koi ponds, something, you know, you gotta use your imagination. So all of these have different things that they would be sharing as maintenance fees, right?
So,
Like,
I know,
yeah.
remember, what is the exact name, vacant land condo, like you say it now, like what is vacant condo, what does it mean vacant land?
Yeah, so the vacant land condo, you put your property up on it,
Yeah.
okay? So you have this big portion of land,
Yeah.
right? And I'm buying into the vacant land as a condo
Okay.
because I'm gonna own this little portion where I'm putting my house on.
Yeah.
And my 50 by 100 foot, but in order to get into this vacant land, because they've divvied up the vacant land as condo, there's a condo fee to come in. So there's probably a private road that comes in that I have to pay a maintenance on, because they have to do the snow removal in the winter, and they have to do the you know, press down the ground and make it flat in the summer, you know, when the roads come out. And then, like I say, maybe there's a gate coming in to maintain, and lights on the road. Somebody has to maintain those things if it's not
So
municipally.
then we pay only the whatever our square feet condo, the profit.
You would just pay a fee towards that road maintenance coming in. Like there might be like I say, there might be a road coming into where all of the vacant land has been divvied up into condos.
Yeah.
So you have to pay the maintenance on that road, right? Because that's everybody who uses that road to come in is paying for that.
So,
right? So I showed a cottage country recently, and it was very much like a vacant land kind of, because you went to a gate, you had to open the gate, and everybody had all their mailboxes there, and everybody had different lock boxes, I guess, to show their properties or let guests in. And then from there, it was a really long drive in on the road, and then there was like about 6 cottages at the end, right?
Yeah.
So somebody has to pay the proportionate share of that fee. Like it's not just one person maintaining that road, right? It would be that land, that vacant land that these people are maintaining. So like the roads, the lights, the gates coming in, stuff
so
like
one
that.
gate and then several people there.
Yeah,
So
they're all sort of set up
yeah.
different, but just to give you like an idea of what it could be like. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But again, not something we deal with very often. The most common you see is standard condominium.
Yeah.
And then I would say the next common that I've been seeing lately is a lot of this parcel of tied land. And why? Why are we seeing a lot of parcel of tied land? Because land is scarce in Toronto. So I recently sold, oh geez, it's, I'm trying to think of the name of it. Something Muse. It's over here at Midland and St. Clair. So they're using little pockets of areas to put up buildings and stuff like that. So we can do infill. You know, we need infill. We need space. We're trying to build wherever we can find a little space in Toronto. So this is sort of between like a commercial building here and a complex over here. And there's this little road going in, and there's about 5 townhouses. Samson Muse. I forget the name of it. Anyways, I'll tell you guys, you can look it up, Midland and St. Clair, something Muse, MEWS. And it was a parcel of tied land that I just recently did, right? Not too long ago, before I joined here. And the reason it's parcel of tied land is because those 5 or 6 townhouses, they're freehold. They're responsible 100% for the maintenance of their property, and the proper, like the land around their property, like mowing their lawn, taking care of their windows, their roof and everything. But that little piece of road going in and the 5 or 6 parking spaces, there was like a $90 fee, you know, per year kind of thing for everybody to maintain it, because it needed snow removal in the winter, and it needed to be repaved every, you know, so many years. So the parcel of tied land is one that I see more and more and more. And standard condominium. And then very often, not so often, I should say, you see co-ownership, co-op. Other than that, you don't see too much of the rest, but you should understand it. And if you don't remember, you guys can always call me and we'll sort through it together. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people, when they read something that's not just a standard condominium on MLS, call me up and ask, and we figure it out, what exactly form you need to fill out. Because you have to be using the right form too. You can't use a condo form to fill out if you're going to do a parcel of tied land. And hopefully I'll have a chance to like go into Stratus and show you guys the different forms. All right, so I'm going to go back here now. Let's see, let's do things to remember when reviewing a status certificate first. Because I don't want to run out of time. And this was my point of doing this today. I'm just going to stop the share and come back, because sometimes when I switch my screen, I lose you guys here online. Anybody have any questions so far online? Everybody's good so far? Okay, so I'm gonna go over things to remember when you review a status certificate. So there's some major red flag points you should just look out for. This is kind of how I help my clients. Like I say, you should never tell your clients, I'm an expert at this and I'll review your status certificate for you. And yes, you should waive it because I know what I'm talking about, right? But there are a few things that we can see that might be red flags to help them. So if you're last minute, say you just saw your client just sent you a condo tonight, you went and viewed it and the bid dates tonight, we have no time for the lawyer to review. And they really don't want to miss out on it. They really, really like this condo. So do you have the status certificate? Most of the time, the listing agent will now. They'll have the status certificate, get it emailed to you. What are the things you're going to look at in the status certificate? Okay, there's a few things you should pull out and dissect just to see if it's a good purchase for your client. And you should be knowledgeable about them, right? So the first thing you're going to do is have units sold and closed in the last 3 to 4 months. Okay. If units are selling and closing, it means other lawyers and lenders have approved the building. So this is something quick that we can do. We go to unavailable, we go to that building, we go and see if there's any sales recently that have sold and closed. Okay. So we're looking for ones that have sold and are closing in 2 months. We want to see that if units are closing on a regular basis, that means lenders, lawyers, everybody are not pulling up red flags about the building. First, easiest, quickest thing we can do, right? Makes sense, right? CMHC most likely has not refused to lend to the property, which has occurred many times when concerns have been raised. So there are some buildings that you just have to watch out for. CMHC is just refusing funding on them, whether their reserve fund's not heavy enough or they've had litigation, something they don't like about it that they don't want to insure the mortgage on that property. So again, quick MLS lookup, making sure things are sold and closed. So it should give you some comfort to say that all's good in order in the building. What's the condominium corporation number? So we all see that we see this TSCC 130 and YCC 240. What does that all mean, right? So condos are registered in numerical order with the first buildings being about 50 years ago. So we saw this starting to happen first where it was just all apartments in Scarborough. And then you see, about 50 years ago, we see that, condos start to come about and people are taking care of the maintenance fees and people kind of like it better because it's something they can own, especially if you don't want to do the maintenance on a freehold property or can't afford a larger property, right? So they started to become popular about 50, I want to say closer to 60 years ago now. This means that if you're number 2400, your building is approximately 2 to 3 years old. If it's 500, then 12 to 15 years old. If it's closer to 200, then perhaps 45 years old. So we all have the ability to go online and check the age of the building. But isn't it interesting that we can also tell by the condo corporation name, number, right? Basically, it's a good indicator if there are major repairs going to be needed in the building, such as the roof, windows, balconies. So this is why it's important to date the building for our clients, because if it's a building that's 2 to 3 years old, we know that there may not be a special assessment coming up in the near future. Well, it's unlikely. Let me say there may not be because sometimes maybe the building was built and they realize there was a major structural issue or something. But it's just unlikely with a newer building that you're going to need to do the roof right away or something, like redo the underground parking right away, underpin it, whatever. And so that's an indication that there may not be any big expenses coming up in the near future for your clients, right? You can look at the age of the building and measure if the reserve fund has enough to support the upkeep needed in the future. So we're looking at the reserve fund study. We're going to that page in the condo and we're going to see that, you know what? A building is 20 years old. I think it's going to need a roof soon, but they have a really healthy reserve fund. So $1 million, 1,500,000, depending on how big the building is and how many units it has, just to say, okay, yeah, no, I think they have enough reserve fund and they won't put a special assessment through for the client, for your buyer. Does everybody understand what a special assessment is? I know sometimes I say that to agents and it's okay to say you don't, because these are all things I had to learn too. You don't remember everything from going to Oria or going to Humber, right? When you come out, you don't remember every single thing they taught you, right? So basically every month you're paying your maintenance fees. Your maintenance fees are going to cover common area maintenance, like taking care of the pool, paying for the security, all of that stuff I've been talking about so far. A portion of that is going to go to the building insurance. So that's if anybody trips or falls and sues the building, if there's any kind of litigation going on. And a portion of that is going to go towards future maintenance. So it's going to go into the reserve fund. Okay. So every building should have a healthy reserve fund, because they should have a reserve study. Now, what's a reserve study? A reserve study is the condo board sitting and saying that in the next 5 years, we're going to need to do the roof of this building. Okay. So in the next 5 years, I'm going to take an extra 30 cents every month off of every person's maintenance fee for the next 5 years. Now we have enough, according to the reserve fund, to do our repair in 5 years. According to our reserve study, we'll have enough in our reserve fund. If the building is poorly managed, you might end up with a special assessment. So the difference between the special assessment is it's going to hurt the people a little more in their pocketbook. So say they didn't do enough for their reserve fund, and now 5 years from now they go, oh no, we need to do the roof. We didn't take out that 30 cents extra a month for the last 5 years from each individual unit owner. Now I need to take out, I'm going to raise your maintenance fees $200 every month for the next year and a half. Okay. It hurts a lot more. So people are paying their mortgage and their maintenance fees. And when you're budgeting, all of a sudden $120 more, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot on some people, you know what I mean? To pay every month until they recoup the cost of that building repair that they need. So you have to make sure that the reserve fund has enough to support the upkeep that's needed in the future. Okay.
And the thing is sometimes 120, but sometimes 1,500 is change a balcony or something. You don't pay. They will put in the lien.
No, they'll lien your property. And then if you ever want to go and sell it, they'll put a lien on it. Absolutely. 100%. They do that if you're late on your maintenance fees. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why when you get the status certificate, part of the status certificate that your lawyer is going to see is, are you up to date on your maintenance fees? Are you behind on anything in the building? It'll tell it, has there been any litigation against you? All of that stuff. Who is the property management? So this doesn't seem like the most important thing, but you need to know. You need to know about some of the property managements out there. So check if the property management is a familiar name. If the name is familiar or a popular brand, they may be comfort in knowing that the board is advised correctly. So we all love Tridel buildings. Do we know why? Do we know why as agents we go, oh, Tridel's good, right? Tridel is really good because they not only insist on being a good builder, right? But they own all their property management. They insist that nobody else manages the property. So Dell Property Management. Have you guys ever thought about that? You see a Tridel building is always Dell Property Management because they're known for keeping their maintenance fees down. They're known for maintaining the building well. They're known for being a good property management company. So if I saw that to my client, I'm not only saying, oh, Tridel's a good builder. Well, who cares if it's run by a poor property manager? Right? That's why they insist that they run their own property management. So there's not only Dell, there's a bunch of ones out there. You just want to make sure that you're used to it. You see very often, you might have like, I don't know, I'm just throwing out numbers there, but 151 Centennial and 121 Centennial. And 151 has really high maintenance fees, but 121 is not so bad. So sorry, I just thought of a good example. I recently sold one, I think it was 170 Wixon and 150 Wixon right by had lower maintenance fees than me. And I thought, why does it have lower maintenance fees? I'm trying to sell the one at 170. So I had to come up with a good explanation for everybody calling and asking me. It's just that their property management company, I guess, didn't manage it as well. The buildings were all built at the same time, right? The complexes were all built at the same time. But you see how if the different property, if the condo board votes for a certain property manager, hopefully it's a good one, because a mismanaged property affects your maintenance fees. It affects your buyer. It affects your seller, going forward in that building.
Yeah, one day before they throw them out and then come by CC, and then sometimes they bring it, decrease the maintenance fee, something $50 or something.
Yeah.
That's also a good thing. Never people do
no, it's also a good thing. It's a really, really good thing. Yeah. And some people just don't manage it. Like my best friend had a unit, or she still has a unit at 60 Fairfax here at Warden and St. Clair. And it just so happened that, how there's all these little locker rooms and there's maybe like, 10 lockers in each room, 10 lockers here. So her particular locker room had a leak in it for literally over a year. Like, I kid you not. And I was thinking to myself, like, how is this affecting the people of this building? You know what I mean? And I'd say that as a real estate agent to my friend, I said, and she complained numerous times, and they met at the board. I don't know why that property management didn't deal with it. Anyways, they kicked them out. They got new property management and they fixed it right away. Like with it was their first order, because that water running.
So if it leaking here, so it mean even upstairs has some problem, future big problem.
But not only that, think about it. It affects your maintenance fees. So her water was included in her maintenance fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's not paying it monthly as a bill, but she's paying it monthly in her maintenance
Yeah,
fees. So every year her maintenance fee is going to go up and up and up if you're letting that water run and run and there's that constant leak. I kept on saying, why haven't they dealt with this? Right. Anyways, new property management, they came, they dealt with it right away. Right. So it's really important because if they ignore just something like even a little leak in the basement like that, it affects everybody. Oh, I see someone here. Not on mute. There we go. All right. So does the reserve fund match the reserve fund study? So we touched on that. Reserve funds have to be updated every 3 years. So again, something your lawyer won't close if they haven't seen it unless they get a good explanation from the condo board why there hasn't been one. So I had one recently where my lawyer said, ooh, it's just like 3 years and like a month, but there should be a new reserve fund study. Why isn't there? You got to find out for me. So I had to call the condo board and I realized that they had this switch in condo management and they said, we're working on it. We're getting a new reserve fund because the old management has been like voted out. So be suspicious if there is no current one. So you're going to open it up and you're going to see, okay, the reserve fund says there should be $1 million. The reserve fund study says there should be $1 million in the reserve fund. Great. Okay, good for your client. The reserve fund study is 4 years old though. Right? So you have to ask these questions. Within 3 years, they have to have a reserve fund, a new reserve fund study done every 3 years. Okay. If there is a shortfall, you have to do the following calculation. Okay. So if they say, and this is just quick, this isn't hard and fast again. I have to tell you guys over and over again, we're not giving professional advice to our clients. We're just being knowledgeable to help them through the transaction, right? If there's a shortfall, this is what I'm going to tell my client. If there's 100 units in the building, it means the most likely your expense is going to be 1% of that cost. If the reserve fund is short $1 million, your unit share is going to be $10,000. Make sense? Okay. So we were talking about that special assessment. How are they going to recoup that cost? They could charge you $1,000 extra for the next 10 months, $500 for the next 20 months. However they decide, however the condo board decides to divvy up that cost of the shortfall, because regardless, they're going to go and do that repair and you're going to be responsible for it. So as a buyer, I'd tell my client, and some clients might go, oh, I don't care, $10,000 isn't much. I love the unit. You know what I mean? Okay, great. As long as you're informing your clients, it's not a bad thing. So we don't want to hide these things from our clients. We just wanted them to be aware. Okay. Is Airbnb permitted? Very important thing to ask because a lot of our clients are buying these condos and stuff for investment properties and their intention is to rent it out, Airbnb it, make a little income with it, do something. So the status certificate will tell you how many units are leased to tenants. Okay, so you have to notify your condo board when you lease your unit. I'm dealing with this right now in Peterborough with my client and she goes, oh, I do? That's crazy. I said, no, but it's for insurance purposes, right? They need to know who is living in the dwelling, right? So you have to, they know, oh, 80% of our units are owner occupied, 20% are leased, right? Many buildings will have a minimum lease period of 6 months to a year. So that's really important. If you want to Airbnb it, a minimum lease of 6 to a year is not going to cut it for an Airbnb. Okay. And they do that because they want it to be like not such high turnover coming through, right? This would prohibit Airbnb. And more condos are trying to prevent this due to security and insurance reasons. So, you know, not to stereotype, but a lot of people coming through for Airbnb, they're doing it for a vacation reason. They're doing it for a relaxing purpose. They tend to be the kind who are more kicking back, maybe having a few drinks or, you know, roaming about the building, checking everything out because they're not familiar with the building. So it poses, some condo boards believe it poses a security risk and a higher insurance risk for them, right?
Can insurance also need to higher than Airbnb?
Yeah, if you tell your insurance, your Airbnb, your insurance is going to be a lot higher than if you say, oh, I'm tenanting the property for a year lease, for sure. Yeah. And pets and parking. That's another thing you want to look into quickly for your clients. If they have a dog and they're buying this unit, they would, and there's a like a restriction on it. There might say, oh, you only allowed one pet or no pets over 20 pounds. So make sure you understand in advance whether pets or parking are permitted. Pets may be allowed, but there may be a weight restriction. Make sure you physically see the parking spot and locker number before signing the offer. This way, there is no confusion with what you expect on closing. Again, it doesn't seem like a biggie thing, but some people, like if you're selling a condo unit to an elderly lady and she gets the parking spot that's way at the other end of the dark side of the parking lot and she's terrified and she hates it now, it is a big deal. So you definitely want to go down there and physically see those things. And is it possible that the number on the floor may not be the same as the legal unit number? Okay, so again, when I'm showing you guys how to fill out your forms on a regular basis, I keep on insisting that you go and not only not trust what's on the listing, but you go and physically check for yourself on Geo Warehouse or public records before you fill out the legal description. Because you know, in the condo, actually, I'll flick to the paperwork now just so I can show you guys exactly what I mean. Your condo paperwork very often will say this unit on this floor. It's not necessarily what matches. Yeah, the number. It's just because you're unit 212 doesn't mean it's the 12th unit on the second floor. I'm going to try and find you guys an example here. Okay. How's everybody online so far? Anybody got any questions? Okay.
Some building don't have a 13th floor, I think, no?
Some don't, but you know what? I don't get that because technically the 14th is the 13th anyways then, even though it's not numbered such, but I don't know. Some people are superstitious, some people it bugs, right?
That's
So
too much. I mean, you know, I have to go numbers.
yeah. Okay, so I'm going to look up a condo first and see if I can show you the description. One where it doesn't match, hopefully. So we'll just click through a couple of them. We'll go maybe around the office like I always do. Don't mind my mouse, it's so big, but my kids have played with my laptop. They were like, Mommy, look, it's so big. So Toronto. I don't have the heart to change it back. E04. Okay. Condo available. Okay. So let's just click on 2550 Lawrence. Okay. So we see it's unit 207. Okay. So let's see if this one is different. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Whoops. Okay. So here you go. It's unit 207. On your form, it says unit blank, you know, number blank, whatever it says. I'll show you on the paperwork. But here, when you go to your property, your MPAC, it's unit 5, level 2, right? Here it says unit 2, level 2, unit 5, right? Whichever way you take it, when you go to fill out your form, you can't just fill out level 2, unit 7, because that's not the case. That's what everybody would think. Unit 207 is on level 2, number 7, but it's not, right? So let's see here. Let's just go into some paperwork and open it up real quick.
My condominium also saying number 4, say number 5, and then number 4.
Yeah, like sometimes it's just, it's totally different. You have to be really careful. There's my regular 123 main, condo for sale listing. Condo purchase offer. Here we go. Okay. I also want to grab the parcel of tied land one quickly to go over it with you guys, but I just want to show you where I'm talking about here. You got to make sure that the legal descriptions match. Okay. So on your agreement of purchase and sale, okay, so here you got your regular date, buyer, seller, located at, in the city of, being, here's your condo corporation here where you'd put your YCC 200, right? And then the unit number, let me just highlight my mouse so you guys can see online there. The unit number here, unit number blank, level blank. So like I said, this is 207. Very often when I'm checking over people's agreement of purchase and sales, they're saying level unit number 7, level number 2, because they're going, well, it's unit 207, but that is pertaining to the legal description. So you have to put unit number 5, level number 2. Okay. And then you're going to want to try and put in the specific parking and locker numbers if you can get them from the agent. I just want to close this and go back and show you the parcel of tied land, how it differs. So actually, here, hold on. I'll go into this one first. Here's where we put in the maintenance fees and what they cover. And how do you know what they cover? We got to go and check with the listing agent, right? To see what they cover. But down here on this page, it's the common expenses. So property, the condominium maintenance costs are approximately whatever per month, and it includes the following. So you've got to go on this and you've got to see that it's, oh, where am I going here? $504.98. And what does it include? Taxes? No, it includes the water, the hydro, the central air, the parking, the heat. It does not include cable. It includes building insurance and common elements, right? So you have to write all of that in here, what it includes. Okay. Now I told you guys I just added a parcel of tied land recently because we realized we needed it in the office. Like I say, it's becoming more and more common, more than it ever used to be. I see parcel of tied land. So you see right there at the end, parcel of tied land purchase offer. I've added it to the templates for the office. And I'll just show you how the form looks a little bit different. And if you're listing it, you have to mention in your listing because a lot of agents out there will give you the wrong paperwork. But you have to do this Form 111, Agreement of Purchase and Sale for parcel of tied land. So basically, you're filling out a lot of the same thing, right? Common elements condo. You still have a condominium corporation name and number, okay? And then you come down here. Where was it? Did I miss it up here? You still have to put in what the proportionate share of everything is and what it's covering. This is just saying though that it's not like a regular condominium unit, that it's something that's, like I say, the parcel of tied land is if you have a common parking lot or a little green area you share in amongst yourself. There's a parcel of the land that ties your there it is. It's a lot further in this form. The common expenses here are approximately $90 a month, and they cover snow removal on parking lot and, you know, garden maintenance, something like that. The only difference is that they don't consider it a full condominium because usually your property sitting on it is a freehold. Okay, so you'll notice that when you go to search in Stratus MLS, or if you're loading a parcel of tied land listing, you're going to want to load it in the freehold section and not the condo section. Even though there's a condo fee, the parcel of tied land, it's only on there, the actual building itself, as far as the lawyer is concerned and the mortgage is concerned, you're purchasing a freehold property, right? So that's the only difference there that they make, right? Does anybody have any questions for me?
Mostly I find a problem for the status certificate.
Yeah.
And the title insurance, there's a two major title insurance, I believe. I don't know more than that.
Okay.
But they give a hard time sometimes for people why for the title insurance. Tenant insurance different.
Tenant insurance different. Title
insurance, they have the management.
Mm-hmm.
So when you purchase or something, you have to go with the title insurance.
You have to. You always have to go with title insurance. So, like, as far as I know, like, it's pretty much mandatory. I don't know of any lawyer that'll close without title insurance.
Without that, they can close.
No, you can't close.
Then they give a hard time. Okay, you are not enough. The fund, say, fund or something.
So the title insurance doesn't have to do anything really directly with the condo, the status certificate or the reserve fund or anything. So the lawyer is saying to you,
yeah,
look, the status certificate is a little weak. And this is why I say you've got to know also, not only for bid situations, but I guess in situations like this,
yeah,
if you have a client saying to you, oh my God, the lawyer told me that the reserve fund's not enough.
yeah.
You have to know how to speak to your client intelligently, just let them know, okay, you know, it's not a huge deal. You just need to be aware of it. Like I say, with that $10,000 special assessment coming, I might have a client that says, I don't care, I love the unit. I don't care if you just making them aware of it. Okay. But if you tell the lawyer, oh, it doesn't matter if the reserve fund's a little low or if there's a special assessment coming, I still want to take the unit. The lawyer will close.
Yeah.
Your biggest problem is if the mortgager doesn't want to fund that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if they don't have a reserve fund, they're afraid that you might get a special assessment of $10,000 and now you won't be able to afford your unit. So they don't want to fund on it. Or like I was saying, there's some buildings that CMHC won't insure, right? So that's a big problem, more of a problem with your mortgage, right? Your lawyer, it's 99% of the time it's your choice. If there's a special assessment coming, you can choose to close still. He's just making you aware of it. But your lawyer won't close if the title is not clear. So I had an instance where I was buying a condo townhouse and the unit owner didn't have a clear title. It wasn't even their fault. The building had some concrete stairs done, didn't like the work, and then didn't pay the contractor. The contractor put a lien on the building. Well, that falls on everybody's title in the building. So now they don't have a clear title close. So the lawyer won't close in that case. The title insurance is completely separate to this. So the reason the lawyer makes you take out title insurance, it's the same reason why your mortgager won't let you close without them being on your insurance, right? Okay. Is because should he miss anything, or say we just got a divorce, you sold the property and I didn't see that happen. So now you've closed and the new person's on there, but I go and I put a lien on that title because I say, I had stake in that property. That property was half mine. He didn't have a chance. He shouldn't have sold it. You know what I mean? Title insurance is going to clear you and help you should you fall into something like that, because that wasn't on title when the lawyer checked. Do you know what I mean? Or even the contractor says, oh, you know what? I did the roof on that property and they never paid me. Put a lien on that property after the fact. That's why we put the title search 2 weeks before closing, because we want to ensure that it's close enough to closing that anybody who's seen that the property sold, if they put a lien on it, will catch it. But we also don't want it to be too far away, too close to closing, sorry, because if there's something we need to fix, you need time to sort it out in order to close, right? So if there is a construction lien on it, I can turn around to you and say, there's a construction lien on this property, and you go, oh, I didn't know that would prevent me from closing. Okay, you know what? I'll pay that $5,000 out to that contractor. They take the lien off the property. Now your lawyer will close. Yeah. But title insurance is just in case something's missed or you need something in the future, or somebody comes and claims, on your title later in the future, and it happens.
So then why the other title insurance, they reduced that, or we don't want to do that? Then we had to go other place. I have experience 3-4 years ago. We went to the one title insurance, they give a hard time, they don't want to.
Maybe there was a previous problem with that building that they knew. Maybe that building had a lot of litigation against it and they didn't want to insure it because they knew that there'd be something in the future.
This guy fixing that problem and then they get the title insurance. Why he didn't fix it and say, okay, we'll work on it.
Right.
Right.
It all depends. If it's a hard situation where like the building is in the middle of litigation with so many people because it's a consistent problem that people are getting hurt in the underground because they haven't fixed it or something like that, then they might refuse to insure it because of this. You know what I mean? Because they might say, well, it doesn't matter if I insure you. I know you're going to have a problem in the future.
So mostly,
right? High risk.
So mostly the title of being is that Christine's the owner, husband's owner, like everything coming from there. If you pay 2-3 owner, they will tell, okay, this guy is that they all own the property. So that's all title, not title.
Yeah. It's to insure your title. Like if the lawyer missed anything or if there's anything that happens in the future that's beyond your control that nobody could have foreseen. Just like any insurance, you can't foresee that you're going to bump your car on the curb tomorrow, but your insurance will cover you. You don't foresee that that's going to happen, right? Yeah. But you pay for the insurance for the peace of mind and protection. Yeah. So that's why.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Before 2 weeks closing, they check the title insurance or somebody put a lien or something. No? Yeah. What happened between these 2 weeks? Also, people can do, or in case anybody had to put it, then they let the lawyer know, okay, now yesterday, tomorrow closing, yesterday someone put a lien, so does work is still work? No.
It works after, like the lawyer, The
find out.
lawyer will check within those 2 weeks, and once they've checked, they want to make sure you have title insurance to close for these sort of instances. So
Yeah, between
does the
that 2
status
weeks
certificate
time,
break down the maintenance fees?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, the status certificate will include breakdowns of maintenance fees. So it'll say, if your hydro's included, well, last year's hydro bill was $9,000 for the building, and the pool cost us, I don't know, $5,000 on security. We paid them, $40,000 annual salary. It'll give you the breakdown for sure. Yeah, because it has to be the actual cost that they're charging you. They can't just guess. The only things that are estimates is when they do, okay, we're gonna need to do the roof in 5 years. That might cost us $1 million. So everybody has to pay $5 extra. Those are the only things that are kind of a little bit loosey-goosey, but other than that, they're actual costs of the building. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else online have a question?
Yes, question.
Yes.
My question basically, so the maintenance fee say like $500.
Yeah.
What is included in that $500? Where I can find it in the status certificate?
In the status certificate, it'll say,
Yeah,
it'll itemize what's included. I should grab an actual status certificate. So next time I'm doing the assignment, when you guys want an assignment sale one, when I do the assignment sale, I'll pull a status certificate and kind of show you guys. So just like it says in the listing, when the listing where it says heat, hydro, water, building insurance, right? It'll say that in the status certificate. So we're under maintenance fees when it's showing what it's covering, and
Okay.
all of that stuff and what the cost is. It'll tell you in there what that includes. Yeah. So then that's also a place you can make sure there's no mistakes, because maybe the listing agent put that heat was included, but they were mistaken.
Yeah,
The
it
status
happens.
certificate is
That's why
what
I'm
you have to
asking.
go by. Yeah.
So I have to go by the status certificate.
Yeah, you go by the status certificate, because if the listing agent makes a mistake, you can't change the way the building is being run, right? So you have to go by the status certificate.
Another questions. In the a condo townhouse, it says maintenance, building insurance is included. Building insurance.
Yes.
So does the buyer should buy any other insurance, like property insurance?
So the building insurance doesn't cover you necessarily. What it covers is say somebody, like I say, is walking into the building and they haven't fixed a crack on the sidewalk. Somebody trips and falls and hurt themselves. Now they're suing the building. Well, who's paying for that, right? Who's paying for when somebody's suing the building like that? That's what your building insurance is covering. It's covering, what's it called? Geez, I can't think of it. Loss and
Loss and
oh geez, I can't think of the name right now, but you carry insurance because it's for it's not content insurance, for instance. It's not going to cover your contents in the building. It's for different things that happen like that, like a chunk falls off the building and hits somebody, who's going to pay for that? That's what the building insurance is covering.
No, my question is the buyer should buy any other insurance, the
buyer has to have their own insurance to close. The lawyer is not going to close, and the mortgage is not going to fund unless they see their name on your insurance policy. You
So
have to have your own insurance to close. Yeah.
So for even the townhouse, they have to buy their own insurance.
Absolutely, 100%. Because the building insurance is not.
Insurance? What do you call that insurance? What you call that?
Property insurance. Property
insurance. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
So you call and you say, I'm buying this townhouse and this is the kind of insurance I need. And they'll ask you, questions about the property, electrical, plumbing, how old the roof is, where's the closest fire station, and they'll ask you personal questions, any smokers in the house, stuff like that.
Yeah.
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 And then that'll cover your personal property. Yeah.
Same like Dita's house, they have to buy a property insurance.
Same.
Even for the condo townhouse, though in the maintenance fee, there is a building insurance.
Yeah, because their building insurance is not going to cover your property the way your property insurance will.
Got it.
The building insurance is only for like I say, people hurting themselves in the common areas, or, if there's damage because of something happens to the building because of the whole building as a whole, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
The same thing is extra for the status certificate.
Yeah.
The condominium also, and then there's a 2 parking spot. So always when you order, they put it 1 parking spot only.
Yeah.
And I said, what is there 2? Oh yeah, then they will add another paper.
Yeah.
Say, okay, this one is permanent.
Yeah.
One is lease for 100 years.
Oh, okay.
So that never comes or the system earlier.
Yeah,
They print out only one parking spot.
yeah.
Then I
Well,
go, then
they print out a pretty standard one. They're supposed to do it per unit and figure out what each unit, yeah.
We don't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
The agreement 100 year is a lease.
Yeah.
So I don't pay any monthly payment.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. All right, everyone.
And, other thing before
Yeah.
that, I know
Yeah.
you have heard.
That's okay.
Other thing. So sometimes they put a red mark for the condominium. So as a realtor, we go buy for the buyer. Then they say red mark. So we can't get a mortgage for that red mark. I mean, there's too many things. No?
There might be too many things wrong. Like I say, if you're concerned about a building, if it's an older one, or you've heard there might be a problem with this building, the quickest thing you can do is check unavailable and see if in the last few months things have closed. Not just one, because somebody might have bought that for cash, right?
Yeah.
If there's a couple of units that have sold and closed, that's the easiest way. That means some lawyers closed on it and some mortgagers funded on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and some people help you out, like what's it, Prudential, one of the buildings there, I forget which number, the one sort of on the west side, though I know which building it is. I know only certain banks will fund that, like certain B lenders will fund that. Yeah, if the A banks won't fund it because there was a problem with their reserve fund and stuff like that.
They don't fund sometimes.
Yeah.
They don't want to.
Yeah, and you can always ask the listing agent, you know what I mean? Oh, I heard there's a problem funding this building. Do you know who your client's using as the mortgager? And you know.
And then the building insurance and the tenant insurance.
Yeah.
They're different now. So in case the whole building fire and that's it.
Yeah.
Then the building insurance cover for us build the street like again rebuild.
Rebuild. It would all depend on the fault. So like sort of similar. I had a property I was managing that burnt down. Well, half of it. So the owner's insurance covered it right away and built it for the owner to be out of that. This is a house we're talking about, but it's a similar situation. I'll tell you what. So it all depends on whose fault it is. If it's like, say you started the fire because you were smoking, right? I'm pretty sure the building insurance would build the building again, but then their insurance would go after your insurance, right? Or if the fire was caused because the electrician just left that day, the building would cover it, and then they go after that electrician's insurance, right? Yeah, it's a sticky to say who would be in fault at the end of the day.
Stories, 200 rooms, so every suite.
Yeah.
Then something happened. The single, say you are tenant, then you are the cover for tenant. Then how come they can come to you? The insurance say no, we got to cover only this one. They don't go $1 million, $2 million.
See, it's all goes down the funnel. So the building insurance liability, that's the word I was looking for earlier. The building insurance will cover a certain amount of liability, right? And then you as an owner owning a property has a certain amount of liability insurance. And then the tenant themselves has a certain amount of liability insurance, right? So
whatever cover is.
Yeah.
And then the owner, if you have fifth floor, then even fire everything, you are still on the fifth floor.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know about rebuilding and how that I don't know.
Yeah. And then what is the rules and regulation? Because of the because all so far 50 years experience the condominium here in Toronto maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think so 100-year condominium here, no, maybe 50, 60. So how long the guarantee? I mean for building 200 year or 300 year?
I don't know. I thought, you know, years and years and years ago, I had a listing out in Elsinore Path in Etobicoke. And I remember driving back and forth to show it all the time and seeing all these crazy buildings coming up along the lake shore in Etobicoke coming into Toronto on the Gardiner. And I thought, how are they going to sell all of these, right? Like, holy Moses. But now it's just tons and tons more going up. So I really don't know what the cap is going to be. No idea.
But, you know, I mean, maybe I don't think they're like a 500 years, you know.
I have no idea. Whatever their plans are, you know what I mean?
Like
so
I know it's just 2%, but sometimes you know, even say 500 years, okay. So after that it's going to collapse, then we had to build our own money again. I think that's right now. They have no cover insurance.
Yeah. I was just looking at that new build coming up in Brampton, and they're tall towers, and it said mostly 1-bedroom units. Focusing on new families and newcomers, you know, so it's just that's the I thought a whole building with only 1 bedroom, and they're 2 big towers, right? Yeah, so
Okay.
you don't know what their focus is
Yeah.
on to build right now,
Yeah,
so.
Students coming every.
Students coming,
So
people
they are
coming.
pending.
They've been saying with COVID, there hasn't been a lot of people coming, you know what I mean, immigrating.
Yeah.
And now there's gonna be a big influx, so they're building according to that, right? So whatever the case may be, yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
You. Okay.
no problem. All right, everyone, you have a lovely week. I will see you guys Thursday evening. Like I said, next Tuesday, I do have Remax head office guy training us, Noel.
Last question,
on-
Christine.
Sure.
If the seller do not provide the status certificate, so how the buyer agent can get the status certificate easily?
The buyer can't, only the seller can request it. And the thing is, if the seller wants to sell, even if it's a bidding war and they haven't previewed the status certificate, the lawyer will still want to see it to close. So they have to provide it. Like if the
No,
seller wants to
Christine,
sell.
I had this situation, I mean, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
The seller didn't want to provide a status certificate. I had an argument. She said, why? I don't need that one. If you need it for your lawyer, you go and book the status certificate from the property management and get one. So I did so.
yeah. So sometimes they'll make it your cost. Most of the time, when that happens, I find condo management still wants to talk to the seller to order it because seller's personal information is on there, whether they're up to date with their maintenance fees and stuff like that. I still believe it's considered their property until it changes hands, right? But I've seen it where it happens, and if somebody really wants to buy it and they're getting a good price for it, and there have been situations where they make the buyer pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah, the seller didn't want to pay. That's the reason.
Yeah.
She said,
It's crazy.
"Why
It's
I
only a
have
couple
to
$100,
pay?"
right? And you're selling your
Yeah,
unit. So
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
that's the only incident I came
Yeah,
across.
yeah.
I dealt with so many condominiums, but that's all. And actually, can we talk about the student residence in
The
the
what,
next
sorry?
class? Students residence.
Students' residence. What about it?
Yeah, because
Like around the
most of
university, like dorm
yeah,
rooms?
yeah.
Okay.
Because the banks they don't want to lend money for the student residents. In
Okay.
Oshawa, I had sorry for taking
That's
your
okay.
time.
You mean like the
No.
ones at like 1900 Simcoe or whatever it is, or what's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
term?
yeah.
Yeah.
1700 Simcoe.
1700. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 years ago, one of my clients purchased the unit, and that time they had the rental program, right? So he didn't have
Yeah.
any problem, but he went to so many banks, no one wanted to lend the money. Then he took money out of his equity line of credit and he paid for that one.
Okay.
For the mortgage. So recently means in the last October, we put the unit for sale. Right? Thank God we had the closing date in 3 months' time because my client had to give the notice it's after 2 years. My client had to give the notice for the tenant. So the closing was after 3 months. The buyer's agent said he had a very hard time finding a lender for that unit. I don't know. I don't want to go into details. I don't know how they got the mortgage,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
for student residents, no banks are prepared to lend money. I don't know what's the reason.
Like I
They
say, certain banks have certain things they don't like to fund, right? So I know there's those ones on Simcoe. I know there's also these gorgeous units in Guelph, you know what I mean? These student houses. And I've heard some of the people have had trouble funding that as well. Bank to bank, it's sort of the bank's decision. I don't know. I guess maybe they don't like to fund it because there's high turnover, the property, I don't know, maybe they're in their mind, it's in rougher condition because it's students living in there. I'm not 100% sure exactly what the bank's reason is though. You just have to check for your clients. Yeah.
Even this happened for one of the units in Waterloo. When I booked an appointment, the agent called me, this listing agent called me and said, before you show the property, go to the banks and find out whether they are able to lend the money, because most of the banks, you have to go somewhere in private paying higher interest. Don't waste your time. That's what he said. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Like I say, if you have any red flags that you know about, it's good to check the financing beforehand. And most mortgage brokers will know because they deal with it all the time. Like I know I call my mortgage friends all the time and go, well, what do you think of this building? Is it okay? Before I go ahead and put an offer in, and they'll go, oh no, we're not funding that one, or, oh yeah, I just closed one in that recently. So it's a good idea to put a quick call in instead of putting an offer in and then going through all of that and realizing that you have a problem, right?
Student residents, it's very, very hard. My client had a very hard time, and then finally he got his money out of he paid out of his money though.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's
Everybody
a nice presentation. Thanks.
Oh, no problem. I'm
Christine.
glad you enjoyed it. Like I
Thank
say,
you.
we'll do assignment sales after we do Remax. So
Yeah, yeah.
sounds good. Sounds good. Everybody have a good week. I hope it warms
Thank
up a little
you.
bit. It's warmer
You
today
too.
already. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.